Here we're going to look at how to automate a vendor to subcontract a supplier. In the vendor principal, we're currently in the communications window. If we then go over to our supplier panel and click this little plus button, we'll be immediately presented with a similar search filter to the one in the valley. So let's say we wanted to contract a vendor that finds each chunk of characters separated by a design time given delimiter. From our research, we know that this is a data vendor, so we select the layer, the verb lookup, the title in bytes, and then here we would see displayed all the variations that currently exist. We want the delimited chunks variation, so we select that and then select the suite x64. This list isn't very big, but soon we would see a rather comprehensive list of actual users in the valley who have all built this lookup vendor. Because all of these suppliers will share the same suite of docs, we don't actually have to select a user right away to keep going with our expression. In fact, we can even build this vendor without specifying the exact user. We'll of course need to slot in a user for this supplier before we publish our vendor to the valley. And in future, this same mechanism works if we want to swap out a user for one of their competitors. We can do so without rebuilding our vendor. So I'll just hit select here, and we've now automated the contracting of the lookup supplier. So here we can change the tag of the contract, and this is just like a shortened description that prefaces the DOFs of a vendor in committees. So it can be handy to label it something short but distinctive. It makes organizing much smoother, trust me. Over here is a larger field for us to put a more detailed description about why we're contracting this supplier. And here is where we specify the maximum amount we're willing to pay for this particular supplier. This is the threshold up to which you're willing to accept automatic price increases from your supplier. We can see here are our supplier's specs and its DOFs, which are all currently red, meaning they're not yet organized. Now if we jump over to the processing window, we can automate when we want to trigger the contracting of this lookup supplier. Looking down here, we can see that a new noun has been created for us called trigger contract, but it's a sink, not a source. And this means that it requires an event to trigger it, in this case trigger the contracting of the lookup supplier. If we organize this sync trigger under the when contract accepted source event like so, the lookup supplier will be contracted as soon as our own vendor accepts a new contract. The other sync noun displayed in red here is the requested delimiter. It's a noun because it's a value our supplier requires at design time of the overall application that it's contributing to, not at the application's runtime itself. We can plug this delimiter sync noun into any other source value that our vendor has access to as it joins committees and talks to its peers essentially, or we can get the vendor to answer it itself. So if we want to do that, we would jump in and add a new process and define this source noun. So say we want to look for each set of characters within a string separated by a comma space. We would create a new source like so and organize the sync delimiter underneath. And now it's no longer red. We can also trigger the creation of this noun off, say, when contract accepted. And that's it. It's up to you how you want to handle the communication and processing. You can either do all the communication, the subcontracting and organizing of committees first, and then go organize all the processing, or you can do them both as you go.